Welcome to UGC EPG Pathshala. Hello, I am Dr. Shadab Khan, Assistant Professor at Department of Geography, Kurodimal College, University of Delhi. Today, I am going to discuss geological time scale. Let's start with introduction. Life on the Earth did not come into being with its birth. The Earth has a long history and has seen many changes on her surface through different periods. The Earth cooled from its gaseous state into liquid one and transformed into solid layers on further cooling. For an instance, there was a great ocean in place of the Himalayas only 150 million years back. With one cellular organism, life began which belonged to both animal and vegetation kingdom. Later on, the animals and vegetations both evolved into more complex life forms. The animal evolved into fish, reptiles, mammals, and finally into human beings. The great age of the earth were based on the rate of sedimentation, age of fossils, the rate of cooling of the earth, salinity of the oceans, and the tidal force of the moon. As far as the age of the earth is concerned, there is a lot of difference of opinion among the scientists. On the basis of current methods of radiometric dating, most of the modern scientists agree that the life of the earth may range from 3 to 5 billion years. James Hutton believed in the principle of uniformitarianism, and he knew that the earth was very old, but they had no method of knowing its exact age. Several methods were devised by others which were in use till about the beginning of the 20th century. Lord Kelvin in 1897, a renowned physicist, had assumption that the earth was originally molten and cooled to its present condition, put the earth age at not more than 100 million years and perhaps much less. Rutherford in 1904 for the first time took the help of radioactive substances in determining the age of the earth. For calculating the ages of rocks and minerals, the discovery of radioactivity provided a reliable means. Contain radioactive isotopes, that is elements. This method is called radiometric dating. Till about 40 years ago, the age of the earth calculated on this basis was placed at about 3000 million years. In recent years, it has been possible to make more accurate calculations due to more precise scientific knowledge. The relative percentage of lead isotopes in ancient rocks and meteorites has also been taken into account, and the age of the earth is now placed at around 4600 million years. Chances of error in this calculation are very small. Therefore, this age is now widely accepted. Now let us understand the geological history of the earth. Though life on earth has existed only for a small fraction of our history, fossils, which are remains of extinct animals, indicate a good deal. It is possible to estimate the depth of the sea on the basis of fossils of certain marine animals like coral, where particle sediments was precipitated. Furthermore, fossils provided indication of past environments. Radiometric dating has made possible the specific or absolute dating of rock unit that represent various events in the Earth's distant past. When a complete sequence of rocks representing the entire period is not available and there are breaks in the rock records, then it is known unconformities. The principal divisions of geological time are called eras. 3 eras are recognized: the Paleozoic, that is ancient life, the Mesozoic, that is middle life, and the Cenozoic, or the recent life. Each of these eras is subdivided into smaller time units known as periods. The Paleozoic era has 7 periods, Mesozoic and Cenozoic has 3 and 2 periods respectively. Each period is characterized by its profound changes in life forms. These 12 periods is further subdivided into epochs and each epochs into ages. It will be observed that the Paleozoic era begins some 600 million years ago. The enormously long period of more than 4 billion years prior to the Precambrian with no further subdivision. as our knowledge about those early time is very limited. This is so because prior to the Cambrian, very simple life forms such as algae, bacteria, fungi, sponges and worms have not left adequate fossils record. On the basis of the above discussion, a standard geological time scale has been prepared, which is accepted throughout the world and with reference to which the geological history of the earth can be studied. Let us now look at the strategic chart which has mentioned 4 periods. It is clear from the above stratigraphic chart that man is comparatively a newcomer on the earth. Even this history of the earth constitutes not more than 1/6 of the life of the earth. Nothing is known about 5/6 of the earth's history. First, we will talk about the division of geological time into eras. We have noticed in the chart that the geological time has been divided into 4 major divisions called eras: Precambrian, Paleozoic, Mesozoic and Cenozoic. The oldest and by far the longest is Precambrian, which covers 90% of geological time, but our knowledge about this era is too little. Next, let us understand the Precambrian era. This is the oldest era of the geological history. The duration of this era is from the beginning of the earth nearly 4.6 billion years or more till about 0.6 million years ago. In other words, Precambrian alone compasses 90% of all geological time. Precambrian rocks which are said to be the oldest one, belong to the Archean period. Most part of the peninsular plateau of India is composed of Archean rocks, which include the rocks of the Dharwad system, which were originally sedimentaries. Just above the Archean system are the late Precambrian or Proterozoic rocks. The rocks of the Vindhya system and Kodappa system in India belong to this period. The rocks of the Precambrian era cover extensive areas in all the continents and usually forms areas of low or moderate relief on account of the denudation of the ages. These are called continental shields. In this era, Pangaea continent was born, and at the end of the period, the 4 shields had come into existence, that is Laurentian shield, Siberian shield, Gondwana shield and Baltic shield. The Precambrian rocks are extremely rich in metallic minerals and almost all the important occurrence of iron ore, gold, copper, manganese, uranium, chromium, lead, zinc and mica in the world are found in the rocks of this era. We will now look at the Paleozoic era. The Paleozoic started 600 million years ago and continued till about 225 million years. Its time range is about 30 million years. The animals in the seas and oceans were invertebrate. Non-floral vegetation came into existence. The chief rocks of these periods are shale, slate, hard sandstone, hard limestone, and rocks of these periods are found large deposits of valuable minerals. The rocks of this period in North America abound in gold, oil, coal and iron ore, while in Europe, tin, copper and iron ore are found in the rocks of this period. This era further subdivided into 6 periods, of which the oldest one is the Cambrian, followed by the Ordovician, Silurian, Devonian, Carboniferous and the Permian. During this era, the South Pole was possibly somewhere in the South Atlantic Ocean and the North Pole in the North Pacific Ocean, and the equator passed through South Australia, Arabian Peninsula, Middle Europe and Eastern North America. In the Devonian period, presence of coral limestones in North America, Europe, Southeast Asia and Australia indicates a hot climate. On the other hand, in the Devonian and Permian periods, there are evidences of relatively cold climates in South America, South Africa and India. Let's start with Cambrian period. This period was about 90 million years long. Cambrian period saw the transgression of sea over the land surface. Land submerged underwater due to earth movement that gave rise to sedimentary rocks. It is why the rocks of this period are quite extensive. The rocks of this time have light limestone at the bottom, over which are laid the layers of sandstone, shale, and at the top is a thin layer of limestone again. These rocks are not only contain the fossils of the oldest life but also hold the first evidence of life. Second, Ordovician period. This period witnessed a large portion of the land surface being submerged underwater and half of North America was underwater. There was an expansion of oceans in this period. Several volcanic eruptions took place in this period and the eastern portion of the USA was overlaid with the volcanic ash and dust. Among the animals, the greatest evolution of trilobites took place. The seagrass was the main vegetation with characteristics of the birth of molluscs in this period. Slates, limestone, and volcanic rocks spread over a large area. Third, Silurian period. It was a third period and followed the Ordovician period and preceded the Devonian period. This period was important for the birth of fish and land vegetation. The Caledonian earth movement affected all the continents. For the first time, the animals which could breathe came into existence. That means animals with lungs developed. Fish came into existence. The red sandstone also came to be formed in this period. Fourth, Devonian period. It was about a million-year long period. It began 440 million years ago and ended 350 million years ago. Devonian period saw at its beginning the well-known mountain building movement, that is Caledonian movement. The mountains of Scandinavia, North England, Scotland and Spitsbergen were formed in this period. It is called the age of fishes because the seas were full of them. In the late of Devonian, the first amphibians and vertebrate colonization of the dry land had begun. All the rocks of this system hold the fossils of fish. The chief creatures of this period were predominantly aquatic. Fifth, Carboniferous period. It was about 80 million years long. It began 350 million years ago and ended in 270 million years ago. The importance of this period is that the coal beds of the earth came to be formed. Hence, it is also known as the coal age. Thus, in course of time, due to intense heat and pressure, the successive layers of decaying vegetation entrapped in the sediment layers and were transformed into coal beds. These periods also saw the beginning of such animal life which could live both on land and water. Sixth one is Permian period. This period is 45 million years long. It began 270 million years ago and ended 225 million years ago. Permian period was a time when the Hercynian mountain building movement occurred. This movement left its marks in Central Europe, North America and several other places. There was a heavy deposition of red rocks and limestone in the southwest USA. The animals which could live both on land and sea came to evolve all the more and reptiles saw the light of the day. The temperature began to rise and the climate started getting dry in this period. After discussing the Paleozoic era, we shall now understand the Mesozoic era. Mesozoic or secondary era is formed of two words, meso, that is middle, and zoic, that is life. In other words, it is the meeting time between the old and the new eras. The Mesozoic era is of a much shorter duration than the Paleozoic. The climate started getting warm and dry. The snow cover of Antarctica began to melt, and this era is best known as the age of dinosaur and reptiles. In this era, birds make their appearance in Jurassic and the small mammals begins to appear in the Triassic. The Tethys Sea was divided into two parts. This era consists of the following three periods: Triassic period, Jurassic period, and Cretaceous period. Let us study the three important Mesozoic periods. I'll start with Triassic period. It started 225 million years ago and ended 180 million years ago. It was about 40 million years long. During this period, one compact landmass known as Gondwana land, South and Central Africa, Madagascar, South India, and Australia were part of it. During this period, while the northern hemisphere was having dry climate, the southern hemisphere was underlaid with an ice sheet. The Tethys Sea, which had come into existence by the end of the Paleozoic era, continued to exist till the Cretaceous without any significant deformation. The places in Europe where we now find the Mediterranean Sea and the Alps mountains, there used to be flow the Tethys Sea. The shells and sandstones of Panchet series of the Gondwana system belong to the Triassic, and the sandstone and the shells of the Jabalpur series belong to the Jurassic. In this period, shale limestone, sandstone, etc. were formed. The first dinosaur was born. Mammals also came into existence in the elementary form. Second period, that is your Jurassic. It is considered to be 45 million years long. It started 180 million years ago and ended 135 million years ago. Reptiles reached their greatest proportions in this period. They dominated the land, sea, and air. The fossils of the first bird also belong to this period. A lot of deposition took place in the seas of western USA. Nevada and Laramide movements also took place in the Jurassic period. Formation of Sierra Nevada mountain was the result of these movements. Third, Cretaceous period. It began 135 million years ago and ended 70 million years ago. It was about 60 million years long. It is well known for its widespread deposits of chalk. The other major rocks of this period are soft sandstone, clay, and limestone. Due to Laramide movement, the American Cordilleras were formed. It was during this period that deciduous trees appeared. Undoubtedly, the most dominating among the animals were the reptiles. The first birds and the mammals were also appeared in this period. Huge animals like dinosaur began to decay and were almost extinct by the end of the period. We will now look at the Cenozoic era. This latest era in the Earth's geological history has begun about 65 million years ago. Cenozoic is made of two words, ceno, that is new, and zoic, that is life. It is an era of new life, which normally divided into two periods, tertiary and quaternary. But there are some people who are in favor to regard the tertiary and quaternary as two separate eras. Tertiary period ended about 1 million years ago. At present, we are living in the quaternary period. The tertiary period is subdivided into 5 epochs. These are beginning from the oldest, Paleocene, Eocene, Oligocene, Miocene, and Pliocene. It was during this era that the vegetation increased and the apmen appeared. I'll start with the first one, that is Pliocene epoch. This epoch began 70 million years ago and ended 60 million years ago. It is considered to be about 10 million years long. The Rocky Mountains were formed under Laramide movement. Grassland area also increased in this epoch. Second one is your Eocene epoch. It is considered to be 20 million years long. It started 60 million years ago and ended 40 million years ago. The land area developed many fissures which belched out lava over a big area. Mammals evolved into many branches. During this epoch, plants bearing fruits and grains developed on a large scale. Third, Oligocene epoch. It began 40 million years ago and ended 25 million years ago. It was about 15 million years long. It was the epoch of alpine orogeny. Sediment started depositing in the seas of Pacific coast. The forefather of man, anthropoid, was born in this epoch. Fourth, the Miocene epoch. It was almost 13 million years long. It began 25 million years ago and ended 12 million years ago. The rivers continued to deposit sediment in the Great Plains of USA. During this epoch, the alpine folds developed in Eurasia and trended in the east-west direction. Sediment was also deposited at a large scale in the Atlantic Ocean and Gulf Coast. The whale and the monkey came into existence. Fifth, Pliocene epoch. This epoch was about 10 million years long. It started 12 million years ago and ended 2.5 million years ago. Due to orogenetic movement, the sediment deposited in the shallow seas rose in the form of plains. During this epoch, large plains developed. The important ones are northern plains, plains of Europe, the Po basin of Italy, the Mesopotamian plain, Ganga and Sindh plains. Horses, elephants and huge carnivorous animals evolved. This epoch is also considered to be the evolution of man. Let us study the Quaternary Period. The Quaternary Period started about 2.5 million years ago. It is further subdivided into two epochs, Pleistocene and the recent one or the Holocene. This is the most recent of the periods of geological history. The alluvial deposits of the world were also laid in this period. The rocks of this period contains the fossils of horses, elephants, camels and several other oceanic mammals. This period saw the evolution of man and the growth of his intellect. Pleistocene epoch. The Pleistocene epoch is typically defined as a time period that began about 1 million years ago and lasted until about 10,000 years ago. Man appeared on this planet only towards the beginning of Pleistocene, but the modern man developed in the Holocene epoch. At the beginning of this epoch, the temperature of the atmosphere became so low that the surface of the earth came under a vast ice sheet. Besides these, the Himalayas and the Alps were having small patches of ice caps. On account of this era is also known as the Great Ice Age. The land masses of the southern hemisphere, however, remained free from ice. North Africa, North America, including Canada and northern USA, Arctic and Antarctica were all covered with a thick layer of snow. The snow caps of high mountains expanded. The snow cover of North America has disappeared hardly 10,000 years ago. The snow cover had a prevalent effect upon human life. Large and violent animals were killed. Mammals had evolved very fast. Monkeys, chimpanzees, and human beings increased in number at large. Man's fossils are found in rocks about 100,000 years old. It is therefore estimated that man is only 100,000 years old. The snow cover was not static in this age. From a study, snow cover advanced and retreated 4 times. Hence, this period is called Ice Age and divided into 4 ice ages, that is Gunj, Mindel, Riss and Van. There is no unanimity among the scientists regarding causes of ice ages. Some of the causes have been attributed to the birth of mountains, the eruptions of volcanoes, the interruptions in the receipts of solar energy, etc. The 5 Great Lakes of North America were formed by the retreat of the snow cover. The mountain tops of the Europe and America were rounded and the river valleys developed U-shape. The landscapes features of Sweden, Finland and Russia are a testimony to the work of snow cover. Holocene epoch. This epoch started 10,000 years ago. Man is the most important feature of the Holocene epoch. That is why Holocene can be called the age of human evolution. However, this theory of human evolution is still in question. Man, by the development of his intellect, has established his control over the flora and fauna of the world. He has accelerated some changes in the landforms and has converted the earth into a place for his existence. Though no large-scale changes have been affected by rivers, sea waves, winds, etc. in the landforms during the Holocene, yet man has made tremendous progress in human civilization. During his relatively short period, man by his intelligence, mental ability and power of organization has greatly speeded up the pace of development. Therefore, the climatic conditions in the past have played an important role in the way of human life. The effects on the life of man are visible on the type of environment creating for his comfort. Man has also been able to move out of the pull of the earth and visited the moon, and constant efforts may make human landing on Mars. Thank you all and happy learning.